beginning. Yeah, there goes the little button for recording. So good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the March Wellness webinar. This is Laura Maloof Miller. March is National Nutrition Month. And just a couple housekeeping items that we always say at the beginning of our webinars, and that is that everybody has been muted upon entry. And that's to avoid any of the background noise. Also, at the end of the webinar, there will be a short anonymous survey, so we do appreciate your feedback. And if you have any questions throughout the webinar, please chat those questions directly to Kristen. Everybody who registered for the webinar today will receive a link to the recording in just a few days. And so today's presentation is Intuitive Eating, Heal Your Relationship with Food. Our presenter today is Danielle. She's actually from Share Care. I'm glad she's able to join us today. And then on the next slide, just as a reminder, the information provided in this presentation is intended solely for the general information of the audience. It's not medical advice and shall not replace consultation with your physician or other qualified health provider. If you have any health-related questions or problems, please seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider. So just keeping that in mind, and now please welcome our presenter, Danielle.
Hi, everyone. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Yes, my name is Danielle LaFlamme, and I am a Senior Health Promotion Specialist with ShareCare. I'll be leading our time today as we explore intuitive eating, how to heal your relationship with food. Intuitive eating is a powerful approach that encourages us to tune into our bodies, listen to those internal cues, honor our needs, and cultivate a healthier, more mindful connection with food. So throughout our time together today, as we dig into what intuitive eating really means, how mindfulness plays a role into that, and practical ways you can set yourself up for success. Before we hop in, just a few housekeeping items on my end. Before we begin the presentation, I want to let you know that at ShareCare, we've recently elevated our webinar experience to include expert video content, interactive activities, and most important, group discussion. You'll notice periods of playing and pausing the presentation as we watch various snippets discussed together. I welcome any and all questions or comments or experiences you feel comfortable sharing in the chat, and I'll read through those in our discussion portions. And one last note, by continuing to participate in today's webinar, you hereby consent to being recorded during this webinar hosted by ShareCare. You understand that your audio and video may be captured, recorded, transcribed, or edited and used for the purposes of being broadcast, published, or distributed for training purposes, educational purposes, and other purposes just determined by ShareCare in its sole discretion. Now, that all said, I'm going to stop sharing my video here and start sharing the webinar, and we are going to dive in. All right. So displayed on the screen is our agenda. We have several objections for today's workshop. The first being where to begin with mindful eating. We'll learn what the term mindful eating means, and then we'll learn 7 tips to practice mindful eating. That section will be a read along, and I will go through those 7 points after we wrap that section up. Then we'll learn about ways to prepare for success. And then we'll learn how to to set ourselves up for success in incorporating intuitive eating into our routine. And finally, we'll hear 8 ways to intuitive eating. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Finally, we'll hear about 8 ways to eat healthy when ordering takeout. Because let's face it, sometimes we just want to take a break from our own kitchen, our own cooking, and eat somewhere else. So that will lead us into today's takeaways from today's workshop. Now let's go ahead and dive into this presentation on mindful eating. All right. See, I love this section of the webinar, and I would love to review these talking points with you and know which one of maybe is your favorite piece of advice, maybe an additional mindfulness practice you'd like to add to this list, or any ideas here that you want to try within your routine. So, the first one is start with a shopping list. Adding healthy foods to your list can help you buy fewer unhealthy, impulsive foods. Have you ever noticed when you're in the grocery store and you see those sale food at the end of the aisles? They tend to be, those less healthy processed foods, but are super tempting. So if we go into the store with a list, we're more likely to stick to it and less likely to opt for those junk foods, and more likely to grab those healthy foods that are on our list. Next is try not to skip meals. Skipping meals can cause us to overeat later, and we forget all about being mindful in our mindful food and eating habits. When you're hungry, you may eat quickly and not allow for your satiety cues to register, and this can lead to overeating. In line with this recommendation and the first tip, never go to the grocery store hungry. If you're hungry, you're more likely to make those impulsive purchases that you want in that here and now, but they aren't going to benefit your eating habits or your health in the long run. The next tip is decrease portions. So many of us may have grown up with the clean your plate rule. We had to eat everything off of our plates before we could leave the table, or were bribed to eat our plates so we could have dessert. And this can be a difficult habit to overcome. But if you use a smaller plate, the recommended size being about 9 inches or smaller, you can still get a healthy portion and clean your plate. And, this may seem like a smaller portion compared to what's served in our American restaurants, but in reality, it's a healthy amount of food for the general adult population to be eating at most meals. Next is appreciate your food, bringing that gratitude to the foods you eat. And this can be through prayer if you're religious, but if you're not, this could just be a moment of appreciating where your food comes from. We've become so removed from our food because it's become so convenient. But if you really think about all of the effort that went into growing and harvesting, packaging, shipping that food, you may recognize how lucky we are to be able to eat well each day and to have those foods in our homes and our grocery stores. The next tip is use all of your senses when you eat. Savor your food. Make eating an experience rather than a task. Look at your food. Try to make your plate a rainbow of colors. Smell your food. Pay attention to the texture. Is it creamy? Is it crunchy? Is it smooth? You may even be able to hear the food as you eat it. And all of these senses coming together can increase the flavor of our food because you're becoming more aware and in tune with your food. The next tip is actually one I really love and try to incorporate into my life, especially as I'm a fast eater, is taking small bites. When it comes to tuning into your food, taking smaller bites and savoring each one can help you slow down and help you notice your body's cues better. A simple strategy that was recommended in this section is setting your fork down between each bite to give you a moment to pause, to check in, and also to help with our next tip, which is chew well. There is no reason to just chew a few times and then to swallow. Chewing about 20 times can actually help your body with digestion as the teeth begin to break down the food. The chewing can also help release additional flavors so you can really enjoy the food that you're tasting as you're eating it. And I'd love to see it in the comments. Any feedback, or are you utilizing any of these tips? Are you, wanting to utilize some of these tips? Do you have any additional tips you'd like to share? All right, I'll give you a moment to drop those in the chat. But another big one for me is making sure I have a list and I eat before I go to the store. If I am without those two things, when I walk into the grocery store, I have no idea what I'm walking out with. So coming in with a plan really helps me stick to what I want and what I need rather than those impulse Oreos at the end of the aisle or things like that. Okay, now some things are rolling in the chat. Smaller plates work for me, avoiding distractions, so no checking phone or multitasking, someone else shared eating without your phone. I need to chew well. I don't really eat in front of the TV. I try not to go grocery shopping hungry. I do my grocery shopping online. Oh, that's smart too. That way you have no opportunity to wander the aisles and pick out those things that we might not need. Don't wander through the aisles. Another great tip. Yeah, it's trying to avoid those aisles that we don't need to go down because we might end up with something in our basket we don't need. Make conscious decisions when it comes to food. I tell myself no sometimes. All right. Let me read one more. Feel how hungry you are before you eat and be aware of it. Oh, I really like that. Yeah. Just knowing where you at. Sometimes we add all those foods to our plate because we think we're really hungry and then, we start eating and realize, oh, maybe my eyes were bigger than my stomach. That's a well-known quote for a reason. All right. Well, thank you all so much for sharing your thoughts here. From here, we're going to shift gears a bit and discuss how to succeed with mindful eating. This will include why eating well means planning well and how you can set yourself up for success through time management.
Finding the time to eat well and organize their food is a very common question with clients. Eating well requires planning. It requires deciding what eating well means to you, and it's so tied into time. When people are so busy and they haven't planned their meals, they haven't planned when they're going to eat, what they're going to eat, and have the stuff available, we all just grab for whatever is nearby and kind of quick, which is not always the healthiest choice and it's not as intentional. And I think the other thing is people are overwhelmed with the options.
I saw a comment that the audio was low. Let me try to turn it up a little bit more. Here we go. That should be
I
better.
think there's a little bit of alternative overload, and then people don't make a choice. Both of these obstacles, the time and kind of the overwhelm, are things we can overcome, make some decisions, do some planning, build in the time, and really just keep it simple. Simplicity is key.
All right, so that was a short segment, but one I think is very impactful. So, what she was talking about was eating well means first defining what eating well means to you, and then it requires planning. And both of these things require time, and that can be one of the biggest barriers to success. When we don't plan well, we grab for the quickest, easiest thing, and that usually isn't the healthiest option. In addition, there is so much food available that many of us have choice paralysis, become overwhelmed with the options to the point where we struggle to even make a choice. And so now on the screen, you'll see some discussion questions about how you can prepare to succeed. So let's talk through these a little bit and feel free to share your feedback in the chat. Have you tried meal prepping and how does that affect your diet throughout the week? Is it something you love to do? Is it you're more like me and you become sick of what you've meal prepped after a while? I'll let you type out those thoughts and we'll move into the next question. Have you implemented any changes that encourage healthy eating throughout the week? If so, can you share these ideas with the group? Maybe you have a longer commute, and instead of opting for a fast food choice on the way home, maybe you keep some snacks in the car, things that you really like that you can grab before you get home and have time to make dinner. All right. I plan ahead of time. This works well for me. I love meal prepping and never get tired of the things I love. I don't get bored. Sometimes the task of meal prepping is too much. Yes, I get that. Prepping fruit for the week. All right. I roast most proteins and make soup on the weekends. Also pre-wash and spin the lettuce and keep it in a closed container. Helps me eat salad. I like that. Meal prepping can be hard and time consuming. I'm not a good cook to begin with, so sometimes even the meats go bad in the fridge because I'm not motivated enough. And even though I know it's better for me. Yeah, so I think one of the things that I found, especially, being in that category of someone that doesn't enjoy meal prepping, I also feel like it takes a long time. Something that I found to be helpful is prepping things separately so that you can then, pull them together and make a meal that you want. So prepping your meat, maybe you're making chicken and you just make it plain so that you can add some flavor to it. Maybe you make it buffalo one day or barbecue the next, so that you're able to still have a little bit of customization within those meal preps. Last 2 weeks, I used Claude AI to help me come up with meal prep plans, calories per meal, and grocery lists. It's been super helpful. Ooh, I'll have to look into that. I love that tip. Okay. And one last question here before we move on to the next section. How can you acknowledge a craving without overdoing it? For me, I have one of the worst sweet tooths. And I know that when I try to avoid that craving of wanting something sweet, I tend to find it in something else and then end up just binging that chocolate or binge eating those sweet treats that we have. But a way that I like to acknowledge that craving is allowing myself that piece of chocolate, having a Hershey kiss or two. That way you're acknowledging what you're craving without having to overdo it, overindulge. I let myself have a little of it. Yes. I think that's what I love about intuitive eating. It's, this is all so personalized. It's all for you and how you feel in your health, what foods you like, what cravings you have, and trying to acknowledge those, but kind of walking that line of not overdoing it or overindulging. I've learned to enjoy my boring meals. Keeping meals prepared foods help me stay on track with my macros. Also, using hot sauce helps. Yes, hot sauce is a big help when you're making those meal prepped meals. Oh, I was wondering if someone would recommend this. A sweet option. I put dates and stuff them with walnuts and keep them in a fridge in a container. They are chewy when they're chilled and usually take care of that sweet urge. Ooh, I love that. Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. Keep sharing in the chat. But we're going to move on to our next segment here, where we'll learn about how to incorporate intuitive eating into your daily routine.
When we're thinking about what we eat, oftentimes the challenge is mindlessness. That, we're engaged in a really great conversation and we've not realized that all of a sudden we've eaten this entire entree that we intended to take half home for lunch tomorrow. Or we're going for a snack and we mindlessly grab the first thing that we see off the shelf. Instead, if we can introduce more mindfulness, then we might make better choices for ourselves that align with what we hope to do. So how can we introduce more mindfulness? Slow down. Oftentimes we're moving too fast in this world and we just do what's easiest, what's fastest, what's quickest. And that might mean grabbing the unhealthy junk foods off of the shelf because they're what's most accessible. What we can do when we're out with friends, choose to look first at the appetizer or the small plate section of that menu and find something delicious there rather than starting first with looking at all those entrees that might be more than what we had hoped for our dieting or healthy eating habits. Those are ways that we can mindfully direct ourselves and nudge ourselves into making choices that align with our health goals.
All right. So here we heard from a psychologist about mindlessness and how easy it is to become distracted while eating. Maybe we're talking with a friend, working through lunch. Maybe we're busy. You have the kids, you're going between practices and you're just grabbing the quickest thing that's available. She then tells us how to become more mindful, and her tips included slow down. Mindfulness is all about living in the present moment and actually experiencing it. So she recommends trying to become more present and to stop doing what's just the quickest or the easiest. Her next recommendation was when eating out, she suggested looking at the appetizers or the smaller plates instead of looking at the entrees or full plates. Often we fill up on these, and when we can choose from something smaller, like an entree, or excuse me, like an appetizer, we'll get full up but not over full, and prevent us from overeating. And next, we can mindfully direct ourselves to make choices in line with our health goals. Choosing things on the menu that are still in line with something that you would eat at home, but just at a restaurant. Maybe it's a salad or, a salmon, something that is still within your goals, but not something that is going to be overindulging or, make you feel really, how we all walk out of a restaurant sometimes, just really uncomfortable and overfull. And so you'll see some additional recommendations on the screen now, and I think these are super essential and important as we move into our final topic of today, which is 8 ways to eat healthy when ordering takeout. And specifically, this segment is going to look at the 8 more common styles of food and which menu items are the healthiest options when eating out, or how we could make the dish healthier by asking for a substitution or a change. Some comments in the chat. Often we have just a few appetizers and share them. It makes a great meal without overdoing it. I make sure I have a veggie with dinner each night. I usually try to make 2 meals out of it. Yes, one at the restaurant and one later for the next day. I love to have takeout. Even when you go to the restaurant, it's like a BOGO deal, one for now and one for later. I love to take my leftovers home with me and eat those the next day for lunch. Oh, great. Thank you for sharing. So let's go ahead and dive into those 8 ways to eat healthy when ordering takeout. All right. That last segment gave us some great tips. Hopefully, you can begin to apply these when you decide to eat out. Now, I have a few more discussion questions. What is your favorite takeaway food? And is there maybe a healthy swap that you could make and also still feel satisfied, like you were able to, eat your favorite takeaway food, and also staying true to your health and your mindfulness? Any type of Asian food, in and out, protein style, quinoa swap instead of rice. Oh, I love that. Thai food, very yummy. Oh, favorite restaurant takeout, kava. We just had a kava added right down the street. I haven't been there yet, but I've heard really great things. Japanese, Thai. Can't go wrong with in-and-out protein style, double meat, and with an unsweetened iced tea. My favorite is My favorite takeout is Chick-fil-A market salad without blue cheese and with the apple cider vinaigrette. Ooh, that sounds yummy. Yes, I love Japanese. I love Chinese food. I like to opt for brown rice and extra steamed broccoli with mine. Chick-fil-A crunch salad is delicious. Oh, awesome. And if you can't think of any of your favorite food swaps, maybe you're getting inspiration from the chat, or maybe, toss an idea out. Maybe we could think of something together. Instead of salad dressing, using sauerkraut. Interesting. Okay, guys, I'm kind of jealous over here on the East Coast with all of these in-and-out protein styles. We don't have that over here. I would love to try that. It sounds so yummy. How to get more veggies with Japanese food? Hmm. Um, Typically, they'll have a veggie roll. There's also usually a seaweed salad. Miso soup is another great recommendation that also usually has some things like spinach and seaweed in it. Um, a lot of the rolls typically come with cucumber, avocado, things like that. Yeah, cucumbers. All right. Oh, yes, edamame. Yes, that's what I was trying to think of. Edamame at a Japanese restaurant. Cucumber salad is also really awesome there. Yes. Oh, awesome. I also have, like I said before, quite the sweet tooth. One of my tricks of kind of craving that sweet tooth is adding some of those Jello, sugar-free Jello packets into like a plain yogurt, a plain Greek yogurt. I opt for the zero sugar cheesecake one, and I mix some of that flavoring into the yogurt. It tastes so good. It tastes sometimes just like cream cheese, cheesecake, I mean. So that's one of my favorite swaps. Oh, someone said mushroom sushi. Oh, I like that idea. Japanese California salad with cucumbers and avocados. That's a great recommendation. All right. Well, thank you all so much for sharing all of that. Finally, I'm going to display our key takeaways from today's webinar in just one moment, and we can talk through those together. All right. So, our key takeaways from today's webinar is planning ahead and truly appreciating your food are vital for mindful eating. It does, take a bit more time up front, but the planning can save you later from scrambling or struggling to make a choice each day. When we've we're more thoughtful about planning and even prepping our food, we can really set ourselves up for success because we already know what we're going to have. And don't forget to appreciate your food. Being able to have easy access and eat food day in and day out is something we can often take for granted, but that appreciation and that gratitude can bring a positive outlook to your life each time you eat. Next, we talked about meal prepping. Meal prepping can help you make healthy, easy, enjoyable choices throughout the week that can leave you feeling full and satisfied. And as I said this before, again, this may take time up front, but it can actually save you a lot of time in the long run. Like I was talking about earlier, I love to do those large portions of prepping things individually rather than making one single meal. I prep things separately so that they're just ready to go and pull out of the fridge. Especially helpful on days when I don't have time or don't have things planned. I'm not waiting for the chicken to thaw. It's already made. I just have to pull it out, spice it up, and reheat it. Next, intuitive eating should allow you to continue living your life and enjoying meals with loved ones. Intuitive eating is not a diet. It's just becoming more aware and appreciative of the food you eat, and of course, allowing yourself to love the foods you love. And next, there are also healthy options when we eat takeout that will support your intuitive eating goals. So feel free to dine out, but just think a little bit deeper when we're making those choices of what's going to align with our goals. It's not something that's off the table, just something that might take a little bit more thinking. So please take these tips and offer them to yourself today and every day. It's so easy to become mindless in our routines and our habits, but when we bring attention and awareness back into our food, into our lives in general, we can lead much happy, healthier, and fulfilling lives. Of course, I'd love now to take some time to answer any of your questions or listen to any additional comments you'd love to share in the chat. I appreciate your time and thank you all for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I'm going to pull the slide deck back up.
Yeah, folks can, ask questions in the chat while I'm going over the last of our wellness slides here. So thank you so much, Danielle. That was great information. I personally think eating should be a full sensory experience. And so just for me personally, learning to slow down is really, really important. So anyway, these next slides are on our programs for our HealthNet members that help them build or maintain their healthy habits. If you are a HealthNet member and you're looking for more additional information, you can certainly find all of that on our website. And the next slide, this is our real age test. This is our health assessment. It takes about 20 minutes or so to fill it out, but it really gives you some basic information on how your health status is in areas like what we talked about today: nutrition, exercise, emotional health. It even covers financial well-being. So if you are not a HealthNet member, check with your health plan. It is likely that they have something that is very similar. And the next slide, please. Coaching. So a lot of times making these dietary changes or any type of health change is really hard to do on your own. So if you pair yourself with a health coach, you can get that support that you need. You don't have to do everything alone. So a health coach helps to keep you, of course, on track and also motivated. And our next slide. Craving to Quit. Now, this is our tobacco cessation program. It's really designed for those folks who are ready to permanently quit their addiction to tobacco. And if you're in California, you have access also to Kick It California. Both of these are free programs. And the next slide. Eat Right Now. This is a mindful eating program. So, like what we talked about today, it's really about healthy habits. It's not a diet. And so, if you're looking to make some dietary changes, Eat Right Now might be for you. It's really focused on things like triggers and cravings and emotional eating, helping you to make those sustainable, healthy habits. And our next slide. Unwinding by Share Care. So now we know that life is stressful. So this is a self-help program that offers tools and videos and modules, all really helping you to build resilience and also decrease chronic stress. And you can note on this slide, this program is open to everyone. You don't need to be a HealthNet member. You just have a different login. And next slide. Healthy discounts. So HealthNet members, don't forget, we've got discounts. We have things like weight management. So we've got Weight Watchers. We also offer discounts for chiropractic services as well as acupuncture. If you're looking for a hearing aid or the screenings, we offer discounts to that as well. And then also to our fitness club. This is both on demand programming, so virtual as well as in person through the Active and Fit. We've got about 12,000 gyms in the network. And the next slide. So we offer online health challenges. They are actually open to everybody. Every month, there's a variety of challenges having to do with stress, sleep, steps, even nutrition. Again, open to everyone. We do offer one special one for HealthNet members each month. In the month of April, we have Simple Peace. So that's whether it's work or finances or your relationships may be causing you stress. This is an opportunity to take this challenge, track your stress, identify your main stressors in this challenge. And next slide here is our webinar for next month. So April, we will have People plus Planet Living Sustainably. So we're going to see how small everyday choices can both protect the planet and also boost our well-being. So you'll be given practical feel-good actions that you can start right away. So we again hope that you will join us next month for that wellness webinar. And our last slide is just thanking you again for your time today. This presentation has been recorded, so give us just a couple of days and everybody who registered will receive a link to the recording. So thank you again so much. Thank you, Danielle, and to Katie. And we will see you guys next month. So feel free to exit the webinar at this time.
Thank you all so much. Have a great day.